Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday as I'm recording this. Welcome to part two of our read through of Barbarians of the Ruined Earth. I really enjoyed the first part. We made it up until the magic system. So I thought we would continue on from there. I don't have any particular programming notes. So let's just get to it. Let me share here. All right. So, just to refresh ourselves, if you didn't see yesterday's stream, the first one in this short limited series engagement, Barbarians of the Ruined Earth, post-apocalyptic, uses the black hack, but according to the tin, according to the notes on the back, new magic system. As I mentioned this before, and it's probably worth reiterating as well. There's so many OSR versions. I can't keep them all straight. I pretty much when I think of OSR, I usually BX is what my mind generally springs to. I can't keep track of all the things that have changed from one to the other, especially now because they've moved so far afield. It was easier, when it was the few retro clones, it's easier to kind of keep in mind where they are. I don't play the black hack, so it's not something that I keep in my brain for my own personal use. So I can't say, or I'm not going to be able to differentiate between this is sort of vanilla OSR according to BX or some other, actual old school system and what's different. And certainly I'm not going to be able to determine with any success what is black hack vanilla versus what Barbarians of the Ruined Earth is adding into the mix. So if I come across something and it seems new to me, and you see, hey, this has been in the black hack since the beginning, I apologize. There's so many rules, can't keep them all straight. Just going to do what I can. If it seems new to me, it's new to me. So just go with that and forgive my trespasses. Hey, Brian Smith, let's get magical. Indeed. Let us get some magic. All right, so let's see. Magic system. There are 10 quote unquote schools of magic that sorcerers are harnessed to cast spells. These spells allow the sorcerer to manipulate, harm, or hinder their foes, heal themselves or their allies, or even alter themselves with stupendous science. Each school contains 3 spells. Starting at first level, a sorcerer begins play knowing 4 schools and 1 spell from each, player's choice. Every level, a sorcerer chooses a new spell from a school they already know. Every 3rd level, the sorcerer learns a new school and gains 1 of its spells. For example, a 10th level sorcerer has mastered 7 of the 10 schools of magic and knows 17 of the 30 spells. So I guess just the things to note is out of the box, the sorcerer is choosing the spells. They don't have to find them out in the wild or do anything like that. They just kind of get them. Brian Smith says, curious to see what spell I'm going to steal for my game. Yeah. I want to say it's half the fun, but it's a lot of the fun is finding these bits of these systems that you can pull out and use for yourself. I'm definitely interested in the schools and spells. I feel like Shadows of the Demon Lord is something similar with a bunch of schools with a few spells in each school. I think, again, it's been a long time since I've read Shadow of the Demon Lord, but it kind of feels familiar in that way. A sorcerer can cast any spell they know by succeeding on an int test. If the roll fails, they are unable to harness the magical energies necessary to use magic. If the sorcerer rolls a 20 on their int test, they lose the ability to cast spells for 24 hours. Sorcerers can attempt to cast any spell they do not know, but the int roll is made with disadvantage. If a 20 is rolled when casting an unknown spell, it backfires disastrously, causing harm to the sorcerer and loss of the ability to cast a spell for 1d3 days. Note that some spells may require an additional roll as per the spell description to function properly. So the interesting thing noted here is we're not dealing with spell points. We're not dealing with spell slots. You can, frankly, which is kind of cool, it's interesting, you can really cast any spell you want. Only if you go to cast one you don't know, then you're going to have disadvantage. And then if you crit fail on with disadvantage, not only do you get the losing a spell from a day, it could potentially be up to 3 days, and on top of it, you get some kind of crazy backfire. Presumably, that's just going to be GM adjudicated. I really love in theory the DCC kind of spell backfire or whatever critical fail kind of system they have, but the fact that you have to come up with a new table for each spell and doing all the lookup involved playing the game just Kind of takes a little of the wind out of my sails for wanting to do that. But it's cool. I like this. I'm a fan of giving the magic users a bit more leeway with their spells. I like to do kind of risk reward systems so that you can cast more spells. Because I do feel for someone who says, "Look, I'm a magic user and I can only do one thing in a day," and then basically other than that, I'm just a guy in a robe with a knife or a stick. So I get that. I like throwing that risk reward in there. Certainly, this gives me some of that. It's essentially a flat 5% chance. I kind of like to do something with the, so in my system I use more like cleric turntable kind of thing, where the higher level you are, it's easier to cast low level spells safely, but you can try to cast levels higher above you, but that's more dangerous, and then you kind of find that middle ground. But then your crit fail has a varying zone, if you will. There's a range that varies with that. I don't usually have the, hey, I can cast any spell that I want without knowing it. It's more that you can find spells that might be higher level than you and take a chance at casting it, but you still have to find spells. So this is definitely a different, but also interesting way of doing it. Brian Smith says, agreed, too much referencing, but so juicy with flavor. Love the idea of playing a magic user there and really getting proficient at performing the spells and results. Absolutely. Note on magic. Players should feel free to ignore the spell descriptions if they choose and make up their own descriptions of how the spell manifests. Magic in Barbarians of the Ruined Earth is zany and crazy. It's an 80s-infused kaleidoscope powered by heavy metal. It's an illuminated disco dance floor pulsing to the rhythm of fantastic machinery. It's inappropriate leather and spandex mixed with maniacal laughter and roars of fury. It's what you make it. So have a blast. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with changing the way that the manifestation stuff. I'm not quite so fine if we're going to change other things. Once you get into things that have those kind of mechanical benefits, then I want to have it's a little more control. But if it's, fireball emanates this way versus that way, as long as they both come out the same, if the fireball in this game is it shoots out of your fingertips and goes a certain amount of feet that way, that's fine. If you want to make it do something else, that's fine. But if you're doing that so that, if I do it this other way, it can catch a guy around a corner that wouldn't be hit by regular fireball, then I kind of have to step in and say, we're probably going to have to talk about that or set some parameters, or you're going to have to pick up some other, there's some other detraction or something, right? Because you're now creating basically an improved fireball spell, at least from that angle. But very cool that, hey, giving people the leeway to say, hey, describe the spell kind of how you want, which I think is cool. And it does fit with the vibe of, I'm sure these crazy sorcerers are all very enigmatic and unique. So why shouldn't they have kind of unique ways of doing things? Creating new schools and spells. GMs should feel free to create new schools and spells of magic. Perhaps a long-forgotten school of magic is discovered in a brittle old book, and study and experimentation will unlock its secrets. Look at the spells listed below as a guideline. Damage should be comparable to weapon damage of the other classes, while durations should be in rounds, turns, or hours, not days, weeks, or years. Damage and duration should only increase slightly as the sorcerer gains levels. In Barbarians of the Ruined Earth, sorcerers can cast spells more freely than standard OSR rules, so attention must be paid to not make these then overly powerful. And that's a good note, right? We're recognizing that, hey, you're going from just a handful of spells at mid levels to basically being able to cast over and over again at first level. So we got to potentially tone down things in a little bit, keep it in line, hold back that quadratic wizard nature somewhat. And we got a cool image of, not sure what that is, guy with a big belt on some kind of walking monstrosity with laser beams and twin rotors. That's pretty cool. All right. So here we get, I do like that this very clear, really clear layout. I always feel like err on the side of super clear layout. I found some things really good and they're laid out with care, but they're making decisions based on wanting to be looking and that kind of feel or wanting to be thematic. And this is kind of thematic, the layout for sure, but it's also super crystal clear. And at the end of the day, that kind of thematic stuff is only going to be impressive that first couple times you look at the book. After that, it's okay. I need to know what belongs to what goes with what am I reading? And this, I like it. It's very obvious. So we get arcane spells. I'm only probably going to read the ones that seem to be kind of different. So we have arcane spells. We have magic ally, which looks like you're going to find familiar. Though at higher levels, you can get multiple allies at a time. Get dispel magic, animate object. Now we have a spell school called Blight. We get plague, confusion, animate dead. Another school is control. We get charm, sleep, hold person. So far these are kind of your pretty much your bog standard spells. Maybe named slightly differently. I'm sure the details might be slightly different, but I'm more trying to get the feel for it than to read by rote all the particular mechanics. Brian Smith says the art is so dope. Yes, indeed. And he also says the nice effortless read. Yes, it is. Okay, so we have 4 spells. Stunning orbs. That looks like your magic missile, blast, whirlwind. Whirlwind is you conjure a whirlwind which engulfs up to 3 targets. At the start of the next round, the whirlwind flings them to nearby distance, stunning them for a round and dealing 1d6 damage. That's a cool kind of getaway. Got some mooks running up at you or just other enemies, and you can just fling them back. I like it. Notice that they're not trying to do area effect. Just 3 targets, but they have to be staying next to each other. So that essentially emulates some kind of radius. So instead of saying 15-foot radius, we're just going to say, hey, 3 targets stand next to each other, which works perfectly fine to me. And then fling them away. I like it. The one thing I will say is as much as I will say, hey, I appreciate, especially when we're playing Theater of the Mind, moving away from trying to figure out the 15-foot area, because if you've ever spent in 3rd edition, 4th edition, maybe 5th edition too, where somebody's got, I mentioned before, we actually had cutouts of the different shapes, and you're trying to position the shapes on the table to try to get everybody. The one thing that I appreciate about those is it really, I like the fact that your teammates are in danger of your spells. I'm not a huge fan of the stuff in which you can very easily edit your teammates out. Back in the day, look, there's nothing better than the story of maybe the first time the wizard cast fireball after they got it and accidentally burned half the party to ashes because they fired it in the wrong spot. Or, hey, I've got this whirlwind, but cleric, I'm sorry, but I'm whirlwinding you away to the cornfield, and you're just like, do what you got to do, kind of thing. So whereas I like it, I would probably pick one target and them and the people around them go. And it's not you select the 3, because I don't want you to be able to edit out your teammates. I want you to have to figure out and game plan, hey, if you're running up on that guy and that guy's running up on me, hey, I'm going to cast Whirlwind, so you need to get out of the way so I can do that. And, that gets that kind of teamwork going. Illusion spells. We get invisibility, we get silence, we get darkness. Okay, that's pretty standard. We get movement. Ooh, light bridge. Let's see. This light bridge is the sorcerer creates a bright golden bridge of pure light that extends from the caster's feet up to the sorcerer's level times 30 feet away. The bridge can handle an automobile in weight, and it remains for 10 minutes per sorcerer level, or the sorcerer cancels this effect. That is awesome. I am down with light bridge. It is definitely very, very thematic to I feel like the kind of setting, the kind of game we're playing. And super cool. And it's definitely a helpful kind of spell. Hey, you need to get across a ravine, a raging river, lava flow. Somebody cast light bridge. And notice also there are no levels for these. Nothing is, first level, 3rd level, 5th level. They're all there. You just pick which ones you get. Brian Smith says, here's my solution. A sorcerer can cast area effects in organic shapes. A wizard can use geometric shapes. If you can avoid your buddies with your spell shape, then you're golden. Well, there are no wizards in this game, but that's not a bad. What would be an organic shape? Say circles, and just curious what what would we be categorizing as organic shapes. But anything that's going to help differentiate kind of sorcerers from wizards, I like. Now, nothing says, I use technical combat, but I don't let the players position the area of effect. They just say where they are centering it, like 10 feet to the west of the pillar. Oh, no, nothing says technical equals tactical. Yeah, I mean, I do tactical combat. I mean, I do it in Theater of the Mind, so we're not placing minis on boards. I just always use that kind of guesstimation thing, and I'll simply say, hey, this is this wide, and if you cast those things, then you're going to get these teammates over. And then if they say, well, can I position it in some way better than that? I'll say, well, maybe you can, maybe you can't. And as far as organic shapes, kidney bean, snaking line. I mean, it's an interesting idea, right? Maybe that wizards could do like star. It'd be cool. I mean, this is where it'd be kind of cool to have the shapes, because if you had the wizard and he's got stuff like, or they've got stuff like stars and lines and squares, and then you could have like the sorcerer's got a kidney bean, got kind of a cloud shape, got a French curve kind of thing. I don't know. It would be you could have some kind of fun with that in an interesting way. I think Brian Smith, you probably need templates. Yes, you would definitely need some kind of templating. So we got light bridge, we got web, we have float, basically levitate, or no, this looks more like feather fall. Protection, we have force field, sorcerer's aid, which looks like it's bless, basically. Wall of fire, ice stone, energy. Restoration spells, cure wounds, cure disease, neutralize poison. Stupendous science, we get conjure device, repair technology, and augment. Conjure device, the sorcerer can create small items such as chairs, melee and ranged weapons, helmets that allow a person to breathe underwater, even laser pistols, or a small hover sled that holds up to 2 people. And it lasts, duration 1 hour, or if the sorcerer is knocked unconscious / killed. Oh, once a week, you can opt to create a single permanent device. That's cool. There's also a repair technology. You can just repair stuff, and then augment, which is used to fuse cyberware to their body or to another creature or person. This process is less risky and invasive than the unsanitary surgical conditions in the ruined earth, and there's no pain or recovery time involved. If the sorcerer fails their spellcasting roll, they cannot attempt to augment that piece of cyberware again. That's pretty cool. So we haven't gotten to fusing cyberware. I do like that they put the page numbers in there, which is always nice. And I will say this, I always appreciate, I think something I've mentioned before is I really am not a fan of when a book will start talking about concepts before they've described them, but sometimes it's kind of impossible. You just end up in a trap where you can't help but reference one concept before another one, or you have to put some kind of like useful terms or some kind of weird dictionary or index at the beginning of your book to kind of cover a bunch of stuff. So I get that sometimes it's just not efficient or anything to do that. But in the case where you don't, or where you can't, giving me a page numbers so that I can use it, so that if the first time we're reading this and we're playing an intro session and we found something and the sorcerer says, I want to cast augment, and I look at this and I haven't gotten to the part of cyberware, I know where to go to find out. Oh, cyberware, page 70 and 78. So thank you for putting those page numbers in there. Ryan Smith says, conjure chair? Indeed. Chairs, I think melee ranged weapons, water-breathing helmets, probably more likely than a chair. But hey, sometimes you just need a chair. And, it's kind of a boss move. If you walk into the tavern to confront somebody, but there's not enough chairs, and you just, summon a chair and conjure one out of the thin air to sit at, assuming the spell works, boss move. If it doesn't work, you might have, you might have lost your intimidation, but could be a boss move. All right, transformation spells. We get mist form, morph object, and change shape. Now that's it. So there is magic. So it's a pretty simple system. Look, the spells are essentially renamed bog standard spells with a few exceptions. I think the exceptions, at least the ones that I read, are pretty cool, but it's not a game changer in terms of magic. I do appreciate the way some of the things they've done to the magic system. I think it fits the setting they're trying to do, frees up your sorcerer to really get involved in trying to cast a bunch of spells and do things. I think it's really interesting that you can essentially cast anything, whether you technically know it or not, just take disadvantage. and then you get to know everything. I'd be curious if I was playing this in a campaign. I might still lean towards having sorcerers go find other sorcerers to learn from, because it just seems really cool and just makes for interesting adventures. And these sorcerers seem like really kind of crazy, interesting NPCs and things. And so having a reason to send out your sorcerer, or the sorcerer wanting to go out and find other sorcerers, and you could even have things where sorcerers come to find them at a certain point to teach them something, I think is really cool. There's probably, we haven't seen it yet because we're at equipment right now. We're staring at it. I don't know if scrolls or some kind of version, sci-fi-ish version of scrolls is going to exist, but that would be kind of neat too. They could be really different kind of wacky things, but that's just me. But you know, I'm that kind of, I'm the not so nice GM that makes their players go out and do stuff like that. Brian Smith says, Conjure Chair is going to be a cantrip adding to my game then. Take it, absolutely. Like I said, a cool move, even for an NPC. If the party was sitting, you know, at their tavern, at their table, and this guy kind of comes up and just kind of snaps his fingers, and this chair kind of, you know, and you could have a lot of fun with how visually the chair appears, whether it just drops from the sky or just kind of emanates out or sort of splits out of the table or rises up from the floor or kind of duplicates from another chair that's in the room. Like I said, boss move. Underrated move, making your own chair. Ryan Smith says, sorcerers learning outside and wizards learning indoors makes total sense thematically. Yeah, I could see something like that. Yeah, if wizards are in their towers and sorcerers are standing on moon-swept moors inside standing stones doing something, I can see that. I mean, there's so much leeway of how people perceive what a sorcerer means, just what their mind engenders versus what they see with a wizard. It's something you can have a lot of fun with. And unfortunately, I don't feel like the kind of standard D&D one is all that compelling. I mean, it's just, you know, do you want, sorcerers get the meta magic stuff? Like, do you want meta magic or do you want a larger list of spells? Is kind of the thing. Which is, yeah, it's fine mechanically, and it's important in 5th edition to have those really mechanical differentiators, but not so much fun to me. Ooh, weapon generator. These charts will generate weapons on the fly. The GM will need to fill in a few blanks with what makes sense for their version of Barbarians of the Ruined Earth, but the information given is more than enough to help fill in those missing pieces. First, roll for weapon type, weapon handling, then roll on the appropriate style table, be it melee or ranged. Finally, roll on damage type. If bizarre type is rolled, there is a final table to roll on for the strange properties. A pricing guide is provided on each table if that is needed. 3 examples are provided on page 123. Remember that weapons don't have damage associated with them, as that is determined by the class of the character. So one neat thing of that, I've toyed with going to a class damage by class thing, and one of the neat things about it is you can really open up to all kinds of wild and crazy kind of weapons, or just different, because you don't have to worry about unbalancing it. You know, you say to someone, it's like you get that thing where someone's like, oh, I want to have this crazy thing, but it's going to be like, I want it to be like a D12 or 2D, you know, 3D6, and it's just kind of, you're looking at it like, this is just kind of crazy. And like, yeah, in the fiction, maybe it makes sense the thing does a massive amount of damage, but you're kind of just doing it as a power play. Whereas if it's based on your class, then you don't have to worry about it. If you want something to be a steam-powered jackhammer that you know, the steam generators on your back, and the jackhammer thing is like a gauntlet that goes over your hand. Like, wow, it's really cool. But you're a cleric, so it just does D6 damage, which might be a bummer, but it's all, you don't have to worry about that bounce stuff anymore. It's kind of like the same thing when you have all weapons do D6. Yeah. Sure, you're losing some of the nuance of an axe versus a sword versus a spear. But the plus side is, hey, you know what? That guy that always wants to play with whips and be like the whip fighter, well, they can do it. And yeah, they're viable. You don't have to worry about trying to fall in the trap of making everything viable or whatnot. All right, let's see what we have here. So we have weapon types. It's just melee or ranged, either one-handed or two-handed. Then the melee style, you can hammer, sword, club, knife, axe, spear, saw, or staff. And then the range style could be crossbow, dart, shortbow, longbow, whip, pistol, shotgun, machine gun, rifle, blowgun, sling, or grenade. Damage type might be metal, ceramic, mechanical, recycled rubbish, laser, stun, electrical, parentheses, energy, explosive, heat, or bizarre. And then for bizarre weapon properties, you might get alien tech, disintegrating, mind control, poisonous, singularity, shrinking, sonic, or paralyzing. A lot of good stuff, and I could definitely see adapting these tables into my own, into your own setting if you wanted to. Ryan Smith says, Whipley Whipson, the Whipmaster General, is pleased. Indeed, and why shouldn't they be pleased? There's nothing to not get pleased about. Whoops. I put the kidney bean comment back up there. Okay, now we get an armor generator. That's another cool one. Armor construction. Could be rock, hide, metallic, exoskeleton, wood, loincloth / chainmail bikini, padded cloth, recycled rubbish. Armor type light, medium, heavy, dense. Also be a light shield or heavy shield. No bizarre stuff on here. And then weapon examples, two-handed metal staff that costs 20, I forget what the currency is. Another weapon example, this time a ranged one, two-handed shotgun, that explosive shotgun. Anyone in close range to the target takes half damage from explosion. Another weapon example, another ranged one, a one-handed crossbow that's bizarre, shoots shrinking bolts. Target struck by these bolts are shrunk to roughly 2d6 inches in height for 1 hour. And then an armor example, a light armor of recycled rubbish, aluminum cans, and traffic signs. Costs $50. So you too can be the natty light knight for just a few dollars. And then we have some standard equipment. I'm not going to go through it. You got your spikes, your oil, your handheld mirrors, yada, 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 torches. You can also get some assorted common herbs. Is that like rosemary and some thyme? Maybe a little majoram. You can also get some ancient world contraptions. Vial of acids. Oh, here's a little section on animal companions. Animals can be trained to be lookouts, defenders, and vicious attackers. Characters can purchase trained animals in settlements. Each animal has a number of hit dice. Okay, so we know about the hit dice thing. But that's cool that you can just flat out buy animal companions. I don't know why we don't do that more in the fantasy game. We always want to tie it to particular classes as opposed to, hey, maybe instead of, it could use up your, if we're using the kind of, hey, you can only have so many companions or so many followers as your charisma, it can count towards your charisma thing, or maybe half. And then say, hey, you can have a dog and it will not be hyper intelligent, linked to you by psionic means, but, listen and be a faithful companion. In this case, we've got dogs, snakes, crows, hawks, foxes, lynxes, badgers, wolves, eagles, large snakes, mastiffs, cougars, elks, bears, and some sort of hybrid animal as well. Ooh, here we have strange weaponized animals. These animals have been bred to be weapons. Many of these animals perish when releasing their abilities. Others can be used several times. This is not an exhaustive list. Feel free to create your own. Descriptions are below. That's the idea that they perish when releasing their abilities is pretty sad. And here's an aside saying that, hey, some people are going to find this stuff distasteful, disturbing. Feel out the vibe of your players or group before introducing them. Making the creatures more alien can help with that. For example, describe the acid squid as having thin, curly tentacles with 4 red orb-like eyes and rough cow skin, or the regurgitating rabbit as a bloated creature that has a rabbit-like body, but with a stubby face and a mouth that opens like a manta ray, and it coughs constantly. These descriptions will go a long way to disassociate cute furry bunnies from these creatures in the player's minds. That's a good idea. So it's a little bit of, hey, be aware, not everyone's going to be cool if you have mutated hamsters that explode when they end up in combat. Some people might take offense to that or just be put out by it. And then we get some descriptions. We have acid squids. The squid is flung from a sling. When it strikes a target, the squid releases an acidic secretion that eats through wood and metal. The acid does 1d8 damage per minute for 10 minutes or until it is washed off with oil and flour. Pirates favor using these on the masts of enemy ships. We also have explosive hedgehogs, explosive robins, flaming lizards, and ink bats. I mean, I could definitely see repurposing these as well, particularly if it's kind of a class thing or something where you've got all this weird, or like a magic item that you can pull these weird things out of the bag. Like imagine a bag of, like a bag of holding, but it's like a bag of eldritch space, and inside are all these weird things that you're pulling from essentially from the outer planes or somewhere. And so, but they all have kind of weird abilities. Maybe you even have to figure out which are which or what to do with them kind of when you get them. but they have different stuff like that. Could be a lot of fun. We also have mutated hamsters, pint-sized spiders, regurgitating rabbits, sleeping iguana guns, and slug shooters. It's a slug strapped to a board with a pressure handle and worn on the forearm of the user. When the user squeezes the handle, the straps tighten around the slug, causing him to release a jet of stinking mucus from its eyes. Ouch. Slug shooter has a D6 usage die. Once the usage die has been depleted, the slug has been dehydrated and is dead. Keep your bag hydrated. Or keep your slug hydrated, not your bag. Keep your slug hydrated. Brian Smith likes the bag of Eldritch Petting Zoo. Yeah. We also have sonic crab bombs, thorny crows. And it looks like there's some pictures. I don't know if it's someone who has named some of these things, but you have Gores, Nesbingo, Abatalax, and Jones. Oh, maybe these are hirelings. I'm guessing these are names of hirelings. Okay. So we do get some hireling rules, always near and dear to my heart. Hirelings are people that the group has hired to help with additional tasks, protection, or because of their abilities. Hirelings have a rate of pay per day, or can be bartered with, as well as a need for food, water, and equipment. Specialists expect the necessary equipment to be purchased for them to do the required task. Yes, be very careful when you grab that acid squid. Indeed, nothing. Absolutely. So the kind of hirelings they have here, torchbearer / package carrier. You can get thugs or foot soldiers, trained mercs. So if we were going to say what's the difference between a foot soldier and a merc, 1 HD difference, and that's about it. A specialist in some area. Basically a hireling with class or race levels, but not a sorcerer. And then a sorcerer, and it's said specifically about sorcerers, they will not be hired out for mere coins. They make mountains crumble. So you got to probably come up with something a little bit more enticing to a sorcerer to get them on board. Vehicles, armored tractors, broken down cars, hover bikes, raider hot rods, stupendous science mobiles. Ooh, you can also get an awesome chassis? Spheroid with spikes, shaped like a scorpion, shaped like a shark. Oh, I see. For some of these, you roll on, I think for the stupendous science mobile, you actually roll on this chart then to see what kind of stuff. Could be kind of like a submarine, like a triangle-shaped hover ship, shaped like a shark. It can burrow beneath the ground, so you kind of get your land shark moment. That's cool. That's cool. Chapter 4, The State of the Ruined Earth. I'm guessing we're going to get some more setting information. The New World. Over 2,000 years ago, the world as we know it now was forever changed. Humankind was nearly wiped off the face of the earth when an alien planet hurtled into the moon, shattering it. Chunks of the moon and the alien world fell to the earth, bringing destruction and chaos. As time passed, our world was changed by the contamination of the alien debris. Strange plant life, creatures, and technology dot the landscape. Many of Earth's own inhabitants were changed and mutated during these dark times. As ages passed, beings born from humans, but not of our kind, began appearing, able to wield awesome powers and cast magical spells. In time, these beings began using incredible scientific inventions and magic to subjugate and rule humankind. The age of sorcerers had begun. The world as we know it is no more, although the ruins of once great cities, military bases, science stations, and monuments can still be found. New swamps, mountains, deserts, and foreign alien landscapes now exist. All right, so now there we go. That is where we are. Rifts in spacetime. When the alien planet crashed into the moon, it tore open the very fabric of spacetime, creating strange rifts into other dimensions, including our own thoughts and collective unconscious. Through these rifts come horrific, indescribable monstrosities, shambling hordes of undead, aloof and powerful cosmic entities, and even creatures from mankind's many mythologies and beliefs. The sky's the limit in regards to what a GM desires to introduce to or pit against the players. These rifts lead to new worlds. These rifts lead to new worlds to be explored, if so desired, or are a gateway for a hostile alien race who desires to dominate the ruined Earth. And it's up to the characters to figure out how to close the rift. That's a very cool idea. So you can really bring in all kinds of stuff. Oh no, Brian Smith. Jar Jar Binks is real. No, thank you. Please. No rifts to Naboo. No rifts to Naboo. Or maybe open the rift to Naboo, put a nuke through it, hit the detonator, and then quickly close the rift. Refurbished and restructured. Have fun and make familiar locations exciting and strange. Remember that by and large, nothing is new, save for the strange and powerful devices that sorcerers create to battle one another and enslave humans and other creatures. Most technology, if functional, is from before the fall of Earth, but adding some flavor makes it new and entertaining. A train may be banged up and rusted, but the addition of a large blue crystal which emits electrical pulses to nodes placed along the train to power it is a good example. Describe familiar things as old and refinished and not what they once were, making them spectacular. So that's some good hints. It's post-apocalyptic of our time, so we can have all kinds of interesting bits and pieces of our time. But yeah, they're going to be repurposed. They're going to be reused. They're going to be infused with these new types of technology and magic that now dominate the landscape. All good ideas. Here are a few examples. Shantytown made up of large hanging baskets on the Golden Gate Bridge. A village built from a cruise ship on a mountain. A beach of strange-colored sand. Pine trees with pine cones that spew small, stinging flies when opened. A field of vines connected to a large carnivorous plant. The rusted remains of a train depot has become home to a band of opossum beastmen. A skyscraper that is now home to insectoid pterodactyls. The new. New and amazing technological wonders almost always belong to, and are used by, sorcerers. They use these items to enhance their powers and subjugate humans and other beings. When these things do fall into the hands of humans, they are used for personal gain and selfishness, foolishly messed with and used incorrectly, causing chaos and destruction, or left alone to be consumed by the new world, ravaged by time. All right, so with a Statue of Liberty with eldritch technicals for a crown oozing molten copper from the eyes. Oh, that's really good. Really, really good. Or if you wanted to do a riff on the Planet of the Apes classic, right? Just the hand and the torch is visible, but then maybe the torch during the day it just looks kind of the normal torch, but at light it's just taking absorbed sunlight and just doing random laser beams out, just murdering things in a certain radius. Explode them. The races. Humankind, beastmen, Vec, and many other species have rebuilt civilization out of the rubble of ancient Earth. Most live in small communities and toil tirelessly to survive in this savage, strange world. Communities predominantly have a leader, whether it is through heritage, becoming the strongest and the baddest, an elected official, or some other means. These people are charged with protecting the people of the settlement and often pay a terrible price should they fail in their charge. Communities that are under the rule of a sorcerer are either led by a common leader or an agent of the sorcerer who carries out their master's will ruthlessly. Sorcerers. Sorcerers are strange beings and are most often not content with merely exploring their powers, but are driven to become rulers of villages, ruined cities, or larger territories. Many require their subjects to worship them as a god, demanding gifts, sacrifices, and slave labor of those they rule. When creating a sorcerer for use as an adversary, determine how powerful they should be and give them the appropriate level, HD, and spells. It isn't recommended to use a sorcerer as cannon fodder, but rather unique, epic battles after the players have struggled to get through whatever nasty surprises the sorcerer has laid for them. Also remember, a sorcerer will very rarely fight to the death. They will have distractions, exit strategies, or other surprises waiting should they be defeated. That's a nice touch to mention that explicitly. Hey, don't have them fight to the death, or at least not often. Maybe at the end of a whole campaign against a particular sorcerer, you'll finally have gotten them cornered and they will have run out of tricks. But, don't, be fair about it, but think about how would this guy be making sure he's got one extra way out of here that he knows. And then we have a sorcerer name generator, so we can get Zagrath, Emoin, the Plague Bringer, Midnight, Zizith the Silent, Motorbender, Sist of the Hive, Shara of the Cabal, Lurnag, and Vengeance. Stupendous Science. Stupendous Science are powerful gadgets, experiments, or knowledge most often used by sorcerers to bolster their powers, armies, or dominate their foes and subjects. Many stupendous science devices have been created by combining old world and alien technology infused with a sorcerer's power and devious imagination. A sorcerer that has constructed a devastation machine, a sleek metal and deadly mobile fortress, is indeed a powerful being. We get some examples of stupendous science. Helm of Control, Scepter of Annihilation, the Solar Sword, the Moon Sword, the Devastator. I think that's what they showed on that picture. I'll read that one, but I'm just going to go through some of these other ones first. Crystal of Time and the Demon Armor. There might be more on another page, but let's read the Devastator. This large robot allows a person to ride inside and cause havoc with impunity. The large chassis is humanoid in shape with a central eye that can shoot a laser beam, 3d10 damage. The clawed hands are strong and can pick up a car and crush or throw it. A target struck by the hands takes 2d10 damage. So it's basically the War of the Worlds walking tanks. I actually have those in my game. They showed up. they showed up, or one of them kind of showed up or was taken, showed up, caused some havoc, and then left. It's kind of still a hanging thread because the party tried to follow it for a while and then they couldn't, so they went up and did other things, but I haven't kind of brought it back around yet. But I probably will at some point. We've been having a devil of a time scheduling a game, just the holidays, and there were some family issues came up with one of the players. I think actually my game is tonight. I should probably check on that. Hopefully we'll actually get to play this time, but we'll see. We also have Magic Orbs of the Sorcerer Zuluth. Orb of Life, Hellfire, Darkness, Light. These are different orbs. Staff of Cancellation, Ray Gun of Shrinking, and the Protector. Massive supercomputer built as a defense system in the times of ancient Earth. The AI was able to analyze and adapt to new threats accordingly. After the crash, alien technology was merged with the supercomputer, creating a truly sentient computing machine. The Protector has been found in villages of humans and has defended them against threats using drones, energy shields, and advanced weaponry. Let's see. This would definitely be what the sorcerer from Wizards would be wielding. Potentially. Belt of Super Strength, Scepter of Flame, Helmet of Power. Then we got some smaller sections. We have mutations. Some creatures or effects can cause a person or other creatures to mutate. If a creature or effect can cause a mutation, a character must pass a contest to fight off the effects. Each time a mutation is gained, roll 1d6 and 1d10 and consult the table below. When a character gains a mutation, their mind fractures and they permanently lose 1d4 points of wisdom. When a character is reduced to 3 wisdom or below, their mind is broken and they become a mindless, savage creature. The character is now an NPC monster and the player needs to roll a new character. I kind of like that. You should hopefully have enough wisdom in some of these other ones that you can play around with stuff, but then it's going to keep going down. Now, granted, each time you level up, you're going to be able to potentially get some wisdom back in this system, because remember, at every level up, you get to roll against each and every one of your attributes to see if they go up. But still, it's probably a losing game, since at every level, maybe you'll go up 1 wisdom, but you could lose up to 4 doing something. So it means there are consequences, but it means you can have some fun. And it's kind of something I like, because it's the same thing as using kind of insanity mechanic, but we're using the stats we already have. Instead of saying, oh, we're going to have another counter called sanity, we're just going to use wisdom. And you could easily translate that to a different statistic. You could even have multiple statistics. But I do like that, hey, when you get to 0 wisdom, whether you want to call it, you just become, your mind is broken. Yeah, you're essentially the same thing as kind of being completely irrevocably insane. Cyberware. Cyberware is advanced or cobbled together stupendous science devices that are surgically installed on a being to give them an advantage of some fashion. Cyberware is expensive. No price is given, but each should cost 1,000 coins or so, and hard to install. Getting a piece of cyberware could be the source of an entire adventure, possibly obtaining all the pieces for a mad, stupendous scientist to build for the character. Evil sorcerers will often physically alter their most powerful and devoted lieutenants, giving them several pieces of cyberware. And then we're going to see a list of cyberware shortly. Consequences of an altered body. Cyberware messes with a creature's physiology. PCs can have no more than 4 pieces of cyberware or mutations, and that's cumulative. After a PC has obtained 4 pieces of cyberware or mutations, their body stops responding to these and can no longer become mutated or gain cyberware. Their body simply rejects them. This is not true for villainous sorcerers. They don't play by the same rules as PCs. Brian Smith says, that is cool and easy enough to port into D&D. Various effects that tick down your attributes and leave you crippled in some wacky way. Yes, and it's actually more potent in D&D because you only get, depending on which version of D&D is, you either get 0 chances to raise your stats. So whatever that wisdom is just start going down, or whatever stat you choose, it ain't coming up unless you get a wish or something crazy, which you're going to get once and who knows if ever in that character's lifetime. So you're just ticking down. Of course, in 5th edition, you've got ASIs, but even then, That's a tough one because you can lose more than you can put back points in. And of course, if you're using your ASIs to put back points into this drop thing, then you're not using it to improve something else. So you really get some interesting questions there. And again, it's just using the stuff you already have instead of creating more meta currencies to use, which I always appreciate. Use the tools that are there as much as we can before we start adding in new ones. Because why, if you don't add more accounting if you don't have to. So we get a whole table of mutations. I'm just going to read the titles. I think we can get a good sense of what they are. So we get an appendage, an extra appendage, bulgy eyes, milky white eyes, amphibious, overlarge arms, excellent swimmer, girl with spiked tail, scaled skin, serpent tongue, tree-like, chameleon skin, fire glands, telepathy, teleportation, acidic blood, chitin skin, natural weapons, suction cup hands and feet, compound eyes, mandibles, scorpion tail, regeneration, antlers, shapeshifter, metallic entropy, crab claws, elongated arms, fear suppression, heightened immunity, heightened fortitude, tentacle arm, gaseous form, rock skin, cat-like gaze, supreme health, ageless, laser beam eyes, energy form, spiked skin, ethereal, radioactive, melted rubbery skin, mindbender, psychic cult, hypnotic gaze, skunk, flight, size modulation, stomach, mouth, quadruped. Stomach mouth is you have a grotesque toothy maw on your stomach. You gain an additional melee attack with it for class damage. Yuck, but kind of fun. Serpentine body, blob body, shapeshifter, skeleton face, mantis limbs, metallic skeleton, insect friend, obscene muscle, spiked frog tongue, jaunt. And then we get kind of a full picture of a battle going on. Looks like there's a sorcerer, a barbarian. Is that some kind of robot? And then a rhino man looking angry. Brian Smith says, shadows drop strength but only temporary, so there's a bit of a precedent. Yep. And then Brian Smith also says the mutation table is chef's kiss. Yeah, it's cool. I agree. I like it very much. Now, obviously, I'm just reading through these. I don't know about the balancing, blah, blah, blah. If that's concerned, some of these are more powerful than others. I don't know. It's not really... I'm sure some are more powerful than others, but they're not trying to balance them perfectly. So maybe you get lucky and you get something amazing, or you get gills. And you just got to hope that there's a lot of underwater missions in your future. But you can always swap them out, I think. I think you can swap them out. Maybe not mutations, but I think cyberware you can swap out, at least if you're a robot. So maybe one reason to be careful about which ones you put in. But of course, if you're too careful, you might not put any in, and then your character dies, and then you never had a chance at any. So you have a little bit of decisions to make. Now we're getting to cyberware. You can do stuff for. It looks like this is just essentially you can give yourself red glowing eyes. That give you something you can add cyberware to your ears, your mouth, your jaw, or your dome. Dome is your brain is exposed in an unbreakable casing. You can communicate with working ancient Earth computers and are immune to mind-altering effects. I do like that one. You can get cyber arms, hand cannons, grappling claws, buzzsaws. You can get rocket boots, cyber legs, tank legs, or telescoping legs. You can become battery operated. You can get healing bots. You can get a hyper surge. You can become emotionless. You can get a flesh weave, in which your flesh is enhanced by metal and resistant fibers. And that's it. Now, ladies, gentlemen, and others, we get Chapter 5, GM Tools. Oh, so now we have a handy-dandy adventure generator. This table allows you to generate an adventure quickly. Roll on each table below. Person, action, location, object, second person, and twist. You get the subjects of the adventure. Put them together in a way that makes sense for you, and then they're going to have two examples. So for person... a whole bunch of different people: mutant, child, merchant, sorcerer, wise man, etc., etc., etc. Actions: kidnap, rescue, kill, protect, find, threaten, aid, thwart, harass, spy, transport, persuade. I think maybe they mean... I guess you could do either way, because I was thinking, does it mean that the actions are supposed to be what we are going to apply to that person? In other words, we are hired to kidnap a particular mutant? Or is it that we're hired, or the adventure is that a mutant has kidnapped something else? I suppose it could be either way. So we get both. Locations, we've got, give us a D12, abandoned metal factory, ruined school, a war vehicle, dilapidated shopping mall, floating landmass, blah, 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 going down the list. Objects where you can get a mind control rod, a solar sword, ring of healing, wizard's ride, vest of deflection, so on and so forth. Bunch of stuff in there. Brian Smith says I should do a roll. All right, I'll do a roll. You know what? I don't have my dice here. I never have my dice handy when I need it. Where's Discord? All right, let me see about doing a roll. You know, maybe I can pull up my browser. But let me see their examples first, and then we also have a second person, a bunch more people. I'm not going to read them all because there are other people. And then there's a twist. Stuff like Secret Raider Hideout, home to ancient Earth technology, person not who they appear to be, malfunctioning magic, no twist, stupendous science at work, so on and so forth. And then there's a Bring the Crazy, which is an optional table, which we could I guess we could just add into these like some little extra spices. Stuff like techno-infused zombies, gyrocopter riding raiders, roving bands of pig raiders on demon-powered motorcycles, crashed alien ships, and the aliens are still around, that sort of thing. All right. Now we can get a couple examples, and then maybe I'll roll one out. So example number 1, we have Crocman, Kidnap, Abandoned Metal Factory, Mind Control Rod, Princess, Secret Raider Hideout, which is the twist, Kidnap, sentient AI with digital energy humanoid body who's curious about the world, but apprehensive giving trust, which is Bring the Crazy. And they translate that into a Crocman used a mind control rod to kidnap a princess. The Crocman has taken refuge in the basement tunnels of an abandoned metal factory, which is the secret base of a band of raiders. Lurking near the factory is a sentient AI creature that has the ability to bypass the metal factory's security features, but it wants a working ancient Earth computer in return for help. So that's pretty cool. And that does give you a nice little triangle of things. You've got the Crocman, you've got the raiders in that he's kind of living sort of beside, not necessarily with, but just occupying the same general space. And then you have this other vector, which is the sentient AI creature that can help you get through to the Croc guy, but they want an ancient Earth computer. And I would even maybe say that the band of raiders maybe knows where an ancient computer is or something, so you can even tie it in even further. Example 2, we have a death priest rescue, a ruined school, cask of drinking, sorcerer, home to ancient Earth tech. And they translate this into a death priest has been kidnapped by a sorcerer who is forcing the priest to aid him in completing a stupendous science device called the cask of drinking. The device will collect the spirit energy of the dead and allow the sorcerer to drink it, becoming stronger. The sorcerer's stronghold is in an abandoned ancient Earth high school. There is still some functioning ancient Earth technology at the school. Functioning tech, a mag-light, a ham radio, and a gas-powered generator. So they went with something simpler, and they got some simpler results, but both kind of cool. Let me see really quickly if I can get... I need a dice roller. I should get something in my browser. Let's see. Rolladie.net. Will that work? Oh, and I don't like the way that... I don't like the way that looks. Okay, here we go. This one's better. I went to tacticaltokens.com/dice roller, dice-roller /. Okay, so I'm just going to do a simple one because it's kind of a lot to keep track of if I'm not writing everything down. We need a D12. I get 2. So I got child. Action is aid. Location is a dilapidated shopping mall. That's so far so good. And then a cask of drinking. Now I will roll for the second person. We have a child, aid, dilapidated shopping mall, cask of drinking. Let's get a second person just to get some kind of 3. And so we have a band of warriors, a child. I'll just roll for the twist too because I feel like I need something. And then twist is no twist. All right, so maybe a band of warriors has kidnapped a child and taken them to their base, which is in a dilapidated ancient, old Earth mall. Maybe we're hired by the child's parents or something, and maybe as a reward, if we're able to get this child back, because it's super important, maybe it's a child of some kind of prophecy, we will get as a prize this settlement's cask of drinking. I don't know what it does, but it seems like it might be pretty powerful. So there you go. That's a nice hook. So, right, someone comes and meets you in the town and says, "Hey, maybe it's the chieftain's, the child of the head of the village or the head of this settlement has been kidnapped by a band of maybe the warriors are from the same village, but they're disgruntled. They want to raid, and everyone else wants to play it nice and peaceful. They've holed up in a nearby dilapidated ancient earth mall, but in return, you'll get the cask of drinking because it means so much to them. And you can even have a nice little thing of whether this settlement really needs that cask of drinking and whether it's good to take it away from them in a sense, even though they're offering it, but maybe you should turn it down. It could be a nice little morality play if, oh, hey, this child's really important and they're willing to give up this super important thing to them to get the child, but maybe you should leave them with it, or you could just be totally mercenary and keep the cask, take it, sell it, whatever. So I think after doing that for spending about 10 seconds running through that, I thought that worked pretty well. Okay, so we do get an NPC generator with just some names. Mina, Lump, Bradley, Hans, Valerie, Scritch, Alan, Mark, Mike, Nate, Panzer. Gotta love Panzer. Fleece, good done. Dirt. Got some professions you can pick from. Peasants, stupendous scientists, junk collectors, farmers, guards, etc., etc. And then you can give them an obsession. Build a giant windmill, clear the nearby ruins of raiders so the village can use it. Rebuild and repair a partially working sentient AI computer, etc., etc. All cool. Ooh, we got our reaction table. It's a 1 through 20 table, with the friendly being the middle band, 12 to 14. 8 to 11 is cautious. 6 to 7 is seemingly friendly. And then 1 to 5 is neutral. And then it gets angrier, more hostile as you go off from closed off all the way to aggressive at 20. And if you need some troubles for your village or villages, you can roll. Oh, so first we get some names. You can generate a village for both the people and their village names. So you can get the Sky people from the Bluffs, or the Tunnelers from Tunneltown, or the Fringers from Watertown, or the RV Commune from Ghost Town. Also very cool. And then we get some descriptions. I'm just going to read one. I'll roll one at random to read. Let's see. Number 4. Villagers live in abandoned offices spread throughout a steel factory from ancient Earth times. The mess hall serves as the town/community center. The villagers have managed to get some of the ancient Earth technology working again. So that's cool. And you can see a lot of the flavor in there. And then we get village trouble. Could be earthquakes. Could be a sorcerer. Could be a plague of raiders. Could be strange lights. Oh, punishments. Each human settlement, Beastman tribe, or vet collective has their own strange laws and punishments that go along with them. Here's a table to generate quick punishment for a crime. That's cool. So let's just say, for example, our party went into some village and, I don't know, so what's something parties do? They didn't like the deal they were getting from the shopkeeper, so they tried to rough him up a little bit to intimidate him, but they were caught. Their punishment is they're exiled to death in the wastes. Oh my gosh, we really got... We literally got Bartertown. Oh, nice. So you're exiled to death in the waste. You are tied backwards on an animatronic mule with a weird decorative helmet placed over your head to obscure your vision. Where the animatronic mule's battery runs out is where you will most likely die unless you can escape. That is straight out of Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Underrated kind of flick. Not a great flick, but it's certainly fun. And it's one of those things, it's kind of, it's probably the... I guess it's if you had to compare it to the other 4, it's probably the least good of the 4. But who doesn't remember Master Blaster and the Thunderdome and Break a Deal, Spin the Wheel, and 2 men enter, 1 man leave? I mean, got a lot of good kind of memorable stuff in there. I'm starting to get on this thing of looking at different media and stuff on the memorability scale. It's sort of different than if it's good or not. Like I think of the new Dune as being a good film, but not in its own in its way, but maybe not as, I don't think it's nearly as memorable as the David Lynch Dune, even though the David Lynch Dune movie, just from if I wanted to judge it on film standards, is not nearly as good. It's very memorable. Does that make sense? There's my little spiel. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Maybe the least good of all the Mad Max movies, but maybe the most memorable. What's in the Village? I like this too. This is good. I kind of have something like this I've been working on. This idea that not every village is going to have everything. So they did this on a 2 6s. And you can roll and see how many things. But so you might get a village that has a sheriff, a blacksmith, and a granary, but nothing else. You might have one that has an oracle and a livestock dealer, but nothing else. I like it. I kind of get tired of the village. And I think it also makes it individual villages more important. So forgetting this setting specifically in your game, if you have villages that were within so many distance of themselves and each one has different things in them, then it forces your party to kind of move between these villages or wait for that. If you do market days in which you have a market where most of the main things will go, oh, we need a weaponsmith. Well, we got to go to Watertown. And then that puts us kind of in the Watertown area. And now we need this other thing and we got to go over here, which makes you maybe think a little bit, maybe makes you appreciate the different villages a little bit more, gives you a reason to be moving across the map. And then you don't have that just your village is just this place you just kind of stock up on everything. I'm a fan. Concoctions of the Ruined Earth. The Ruined Earth has many strange delicacies or just weird food that is thrown together because it's all there to eat. All there is to eat. To create a strange concoction that may be found in a tavern, restaurant, or someone's house, roll 2d8 twice to discover the first part and second part of the item, then decide if it's food and drink and roll on the corresponding table. They have some examples. Burnt sunrise cocktail, which is a drink. And then for a food, molded mustard seed slop. Sounds yummy to me. Okay. I'm not going to read all those, but I like that they have it. We have a book generator. And then some secrets that could be on the books. So you can get something like Mad Marty's 101 Fun Science Experiments. And the secret held within are notes on a deadly poison made from spider venom and black fungus. Suppose you as the GM will have to determine if that's really useful or just flavor. Be careful with poisons because they can really unbalance things if they get out of hand. And it's one of those setting kind of things. Do you want to be the place where everyone just poisons the heck out of each other because it's easy and efficient? If the answer is yes, then go for it. If the answer is no, then you may want to think about, well, how easy is it going to be for players or other people to start getting super crazy poisons? Super crazy poison. Weird religions. I like this. So you can get Portents of Death, the Technoenthusiasts, Believers of the Moon. Ooh, I like Believers of the Moon. Followers of the Moving Pictures, The Way of the Grill, The Lawmen. All good stuff. Weird Mounts. Horses, giant birds of prey, lions, llamas, goats, giant lizards, buffaloes, tigers, rhinos, giant snails. You can be the snail racing guy from the Neverending Story. Surprise your Rockman friends with the speed of your racing snail. Now we get Exploring. Many things are waiting to be discovered, but may be best left forgotten in the Ruined Earth. When the group is exploring the Ruined Earth, roll 1d6 once per day, or more often if you wish, such as every 5 or 6 miles of travel or whatever. If the result is a 1, the group has encountered something of interest. This can be raised to 1 to 2 if you want a higher chance of discovering something. If the group discovers something of interest, roll a d6. If the result is even, they've discovered an interesting location. If the result is odd, they've come across a random encounter. So that's a nice way of mixing up your random locations with the random encounters. I actually would think it would be nice, though, to have a third one. And this is, again, something I've been working on, too, is both, right? So you have interesting location, interesting encounter, or an interesting encounter in an interesting location, which you can have fun with that, too. You know, like you find this spring and you get there at the same time as something else gets there that both want to drink or utilize the spring in some way. You know, it adds some interesting tension to that encounter. You know, now what? And they have some interesting, interesting location generator. This is a D100, abandoned ruins, rickety metal towers, train depots, crashed space probes, quicksand fields, abandoned mines, junkyards, etc., etc. A whole bunch of those. And then we get a whole bunch of random encounters going from an alien vampire spider lizard, animated trash men, a vet collective, a trade caravan, some snake men, some slug men, some skeletons, a robot, a raiders and a flaming raider. We can get weird weather. Man, these tables are gold, by the way. Gold. Black rain, firestorm, choking mist. These are all kinds of weird weather effects. We can get acid wind. Ooh, drought lightning. Blue lightning that sucks up the moisture in the area, causing reverse osmosis, pulling the water from the ground, plants, and creatures in the affected area. Roughly 15 feet. That's an interesting, really cool type of lightning. We're on to the bestiary. Enemies' armor works slightly differently than the player characters. Treat enemies as soft, easy, protected, and beefy. It's up to the GM to determine which armor fits the particular creature. It's recommended that only the strongest opponents are treated as beefy. It's basically how much damage reduction they can get. So beefy gets 3 damage reduction. Let's see. Protected gets 2. Easy gets 1. Soft gets 0. If the enemy is using a shield, the first attack per round against them suffers disadvantage. Also, the enemy can sunder the shield, effectively destroying it to absorb the damage of one attack. So they do have a shields can be splintered kind of rule there. And then we're doing damage per the HD of the enemy. Good alien looks like should we say typical large-eyed green alien? Alien vampire spider lizard, aka AVSL. I'll read this description. This creature hails from the infinite, that is space, and has come to Earth to hunt prey and drain their life force. It is keen and intelligent. It is a keen and intelligent hunter that uses its ability to turn invisible to stalk lone prey and snag them before anyone notices. The creature has red skin, slug-like eye stalks, a wide mouth with fangs, 4 arms, and thick hind legs that allow it to stand upright. I thought I saw something like that on that first episode of that new Boba Fett show. And it's got laser eyes, spinnerets, and fangs. Animated trash man. I like the picture. That's a great image. Creature is a construct composed of garbage and scrap created by dark sorcery. Well, there you go. It wanders the ruined earth, adding more trash and scrap to itself, growing larger and more powerful. Oh, I like that. So you could keep... This one has HD 2-4, but I would love to do some kind of gigantic, enormous trash man. It is immune to magic. It was created by magic, but that way it shall not destroy it. We have ant-men, warriors, workers, and queens. Apeoids. Fierce creature that lurks in the jungles or the ruins of ancient civilizations, looking for easy meals. The creature has 4 arms, massive bulging eyes, and a wide, oversized mouth. Oh, I like the rhino guy there, looking like, oh, so cute. Is it really? It looks like it must be really small. Does it say that it's small? It doesn't say it's small, though. It must be. I mean, the picture makes it look like it's tiny. Or am I supposed to believe that rhino man is just huge? Get beastmen, car golems. Yes. Car serpents. Yes. Cultists, blessed cultists, and a cult leader. Demon dogs. They call them the demon dogs. Fungal killers. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Anthropomorphic fungal creatures that exist to spread decay and rot. They constantly hunger for living creatures they can murder and put to their composting beds. Ooh, I like that. Great image of looks like a mushroom ninja launching itself from a tree. Oh, did I miss something in the chat? Brian Smith is asking Roman Terrence's channel. It's Homebrew Detritus. Brian Smith. I'll put it in the chat. Homebrew Detritus is their channel. They were nice enough to have me on for a game a while back. I'm just typing in the chat. Apologies for that silence. Good folks, the Homebrew Detritus gang. Oh, Nightbot. They saw that. Nightbot saw that all caps, Brian Smith. As usual. Nightbot lets me down when I need it most, but it's all in for all caps postings in the chat. So we have ghosts, giant beetles, giant lizards, giant praying mantises, giant spiders, mutated giant spiders, giant vampire bats. Oh, I like that, with someone riding on it, like the Nighthawk from from Neverending Story. Horrible bear monsters. That looks creepy. It's like a bear, and then coming out of its mouth looks like something else. When coming out of its mouth is a snake. Looks like a bear opens its mouth, and then like a sheep head or something comes out, and then out of the sheep head's mouth comes out a snake, and out of the snake's mouth comes out some kinds of horrible putrescence. Definitely looks gross. Some kind of hybrid animal. We got a big table here of hybrid animal abilities, etc., and fantastic abilities. Killer clowns. But are these killer clowns from outer space? We do not know. Another wonderful movie, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Lightning Man. Yeah, you got like Lightning Man. We got mummies, mutants, pig raiders. Oh, nice. They're like, take your old school orcs and now give them Harleys. Send them out into the dystopian future. Pot-bellied pig people. Oh my gosh, what's going on? They like attack with their bellies? Now that is just kind of gross. I'll read the description of this one. These disgusting pigmen stand roughly 4 to 5 feet tall with large flabby bellies that drag on the ground between their legs like an empty burlap sack. When they have fed, the stomach balloons out in front of them, taut and full. Unlike their larger kin, the pig raiders, pot-bellied pig people are mercurial and flighty, usually only engaging in combat when they have advantage or are extremely hungry. You see them in the picture. One of them's got something in its belly that's larger than it is. They should have something. Say something where they. Okay, so they have a bite and swallow whole ability. I was gonna say, because their mouths on these in the image does not look like it's big enough to swallow anything near what that one has in its belly. But I would definitely give it some kind of hyper distended jaw that it can do something with. You get raiders, flaming raiders, raider leaders, robots, rock monsters, so you can fight the Thing. No, Marvel, don't sue me or them. It's not the Thing. It's something that just looks slightly like the Thing, but not close enough to strike a copyright. Skeletons, sky octopi, slugmen, squidmen. Here they get a picture of some slugmen, squidmen, and a sky octopi. Somebody about to be boiled. Strange ones, which has some tables so you can give them some hair and skin, interesting hair and skin color, and some special abilities. And then a cultural habit. A telepath. Oh, the body of a human and the head of an ancient Earth television set. Oh, well done, the telepath. That's a good one. I like that. Rerun. A telepath is able to rewind time and make a PC live in effect for a second time. Oh. Oh, boy. Yes, the rerun. I like that. Violet-brained Venus flytrap. Very nice. Vulture folk. A warlock or witch. A water weird. A zombie. I got a picture of something. Looks like a mix of Star Wars and a whole bunch of stuff. I do like the kind of Luke pose, but her sword, her flaming laser sword flames in 3 directions. It's cool. Chapter 7, The Western Lands. How are we doing, Tom? I'm going to try to get through this because I feel like we're close. And rather than have a third part, I'd rather get this done now, especially because I have an adventure also. They were nice enough to send me along with the rule book. They did send a module along, so I'd like to do that. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Brett says the Thang. So I'd like to kind of get into that. So let's see if we can get through this all today, so that I can be a clean 2-parter and get to the adventure. First, we have a map. Got some locations on it. Looks like some kind of deserty, at least arid environment on the shore. Looks like there's some kind of one urban environment. Looks like it maybe has an amusement park. There's another kind of wind farm. There's some kind of floating spaceship or something in the water. It's definitely some kind of sorcerer's tower. It looks like that's inland. Some kind of other thing that looks like it. I kind of like it. The image is the icon, or you want to call it the representation, the symbology. Looks like buildings, but looks like also made out of circuit boards. which is interesting. And maybe one at the very bottom looks like it might be a mall. Oh, then we get the other side. So this would be, where's my hardcover book? I think my cat is sitting on it. Some more locations, more desert, maybe some kind of old volcano, a village, some other kind of fortress, some kind of evil-looking caves, maybe a religious site. And then in the dunes, some sort of oasis. The Western lands occupy the area known in the ancient Earth as California, specifically the area around Los Angeles and Santa Monica. It is a blighted desert filled with raiders, cultists, bizarre monstrosities, amazing, stupendous science, and sorcerers. Yeah, but isn't that exactly how it is right now? Ha ha! That was a funny one. Get it? East versus West humor. Come on, cats, laugh. They're just looking at me like I'm strange. All right, so that's future Los Angeles and California. For encounters, roll a d6 on a 1 and 2. There's something of interest to determine what. Roll a d6 if the result is even. It's an interesting location. If the result is odd, they've run into an encounter and they give us the page numbers. Thanks again, where we can reference those tables. The map key. So the kind of locations we have here, we have the wreck of the Sorcerer Aluminum Ivan's devastation machine. We have the ruins of Santa Mo, which would be Santa Monica, in the Earth of old. The village of Route 66, the shopping mall fortress of the witch Grenzel, Techno-Enthusiast's energy farm, Nakatomi Plaza, the last human kingdom, and the ruins of Los Angel. Nakatomi Plaza. Nice, nice. Ooh, we got a picture of are these supposed to be vulture men or something? I'm not sure, but they're worshiping at some kind of large statue. That's a picture. And then we get Techno Dabbler Circuitry Fortress, Snakeman Village, Fortress Ruins of Glenora of the Sands, Sand Drifter Village, Ravaging Dunes of Time, the Shifting and Dancing Oases, and the Imperceptible Bluffs of the Winged Mutant People. And it's said that in the Ravaging Dunes of Time, the cult Guardians of Time have a temple hidden beneath the dunes. Dum dum dum. Then we get some descriptions here. Nakatomi Plaza. This massive ancient Earth arcology was constructed in the year 1987 in Los Angeles and was the headquarter of the Nakatomi Corporation, as well as a source of commerce, residence, and government offices. The remaining records left on the few ancient Earth computers that work tell the scribes that much. Now, in the ruined Earth, the Nakatomi Plaza is the only known kingdom of humanity. This 200-story tower stretches high into the skyline of the ruins of Los Angeles. Its windows gleam in the light of the red-tinted sky. Plaza is capable of housing over 150,000 people comfortably, but no one really knows the current population. So I'm not going to read the rest of this because there's a lot, but you get a lot of nice detail on there, and you get a picture of Nakatomi Plaza. Very nice. And these are blocks. So each set of 10 floors is a block, so you can roll randomly to get some blocks if you don't want to make up yourself. Also has that, what was that sort of Indonesian fight movie called, or I suppose you could think of it like Judge Dredd kind of thing with those different just massive apartment blocks, buildings with different factions inside. Let's see. So we got growers blocks, park blocks, all kinds of stuff, slums. Well, that was an appendix. Appendix B, bonds. The GM may desire that members of the group have a quickly established bond at the start of the game. This gives them a reason to be traveling together. After all characters have been created, have each player roll a d6 and consult the chart below. Tell each player they have 5 minutes to create a story for their character that fits the event they have just rolled, and that it must include the player to their right. Once the 5 minutes have elapsed, have each player introduce their character and describe the events of their story. The other player involved is welcome to embellish the story to develop their character more as well. I like that. So you're just getting the characters together. Hey, how are you guys related? All right, let's roll something. I like that kind of stuff, those kind of randomized prompts that just help get the mind moving and shake the mind out of whatever fixed paths it usually is in. So you can get tough times, good times. Someone likes me. Life can get complicated. My enemies lie dead at my feet, or a knife in the back. And then they have an example. I'm going to skip the example. They have their own Appendix N, which is for their inspiration. They list Thundar the Barbarian, the Black Hack, Pirates of the Dark Water, the Conan the Barbarian books, the Black Plot, which I guess it says is a music video. I'm guessing the band is called High on Fire. I'll have to check that out. Gamma World, He-Man, Mad Max, specifically Fury Road, Heavy Metal Magazine, the Jack Vance's Dying Earth series, John Carter of Mars, the movie Wizards, and the movie 13th Warrior. Hey, awesome 13th Warrior that snuck some reference in there. And then we get some Kickstarter backers list, which is awesome. And then we get some nice black and white art for the back couple pages. We get a character sheet. Very simple, does the job. I like it. And the only thing I might say, and this is just a minor pet peeve, is I don't like these blocks of color just for printing purposes, because that's how the printers get you when you have to use up a ton of something like yellow to print that out. I might have liked something that's a little bit simpler, but it is a nice looking character sheet. And we get, looks like the open game license kind of stuff, a blank page, and they were at the end. So awesome. I managed to get it done in 2 parts. A really great read. It seems like a really fun game. I think they nicely lean into this setting. If you wanted to play in something that, well, yeah, Thundar. I feel like Thundar the Barbarian to me is the overwhelming influence, just because of the whole setting, right? Something happens to the moon, and you're in this kind of future Earth, but sort of future post-apocalyptic Earth, but kind of as it was imagined in the 80s. Is just that is Thundar the Barbarian. I think what they've done with this is different systems seems really cool. Like I said at the beginning, I'm not in a position to be able to say with some certainty what was Black Hack, what these folks did, who, if they made changes or where they made changes to kind of Black Hack stuff. I know usage dies from Black Hack. They made mention that they did a new magic system. I'll just have to take them at their word, because I don't have strong recollections of the Black Hack's magic system, but all good. Seems like a lot of fun. There are probably some things that I would tweak for my home game, but that's just me. I don't think there's anything I look at and say, boy, this is egregious. I'll be curious if folks get to playing this. I think I see something in the chat that maybe Terrence and the Homebrew Detritus channel are going to do something. I know he'd mentioned it to me on Discord a while back when we were both looking at trying to get a copy of this, that they were going to do some kind of maybe a one-shot or something. I don't know. Check out the Homebrew Detritus channel and see what they're doing. If they haven't done it already, maybe they'll be doing it soon. But I like it. Lots of good tables, which I always appreciate. The layout, it's very clean, very clear. I really, really like clean layout. Art is really nice. I don't think there's anything that it stands out to me that going, boy, this is a terrible idea. There are things, like I said, I don't necessarily agree with every decision that they made, and I don't know how much of it is them and how much of it was just from the Black Hack. But nothing that would lead me to say, oh, I don't want to play this. No weird decisions that strike me as being bad from a play the game. I would totally play this. I would totally run this. And if I do get to run it at some point, then I will probably have more to say, because as always with these things, I'm doing this from a reading perspective. What reads well to me, what seems nice to me, sometimes the stuff that reads really greatly doesn't actually play that well, and sometimes stuff that reads terribly ends up playing well. So who knows where my view would change on that, but I really dig it. I really, thanks to Mike Evans for sending it my way. I think I will try to get the module, and maybe we'll run through that tomorrow. Nothing says, I do not remember the Pirates of the Darkwater, right? I don't remember having any sci-fi elements. I don't really remember Pirates of the Darkwater either, nothing, so I cannot say. It feels overwhelmingly like Thundar the Barbarian, the game, but I don't doubt that there are other elements of things they threw in there. I mean, they kind of hand mentioned pirates at one point, saying, the squid, the squid acid things, like, oh yeah, that weapon's really handy for pirates. They could chuck it at massive ships. They don't cover really, other than that kind of mention, they don't talk much about seagoing much, but of course you're kind of roaming through a sort of a deserty area in there, California, kind of little mini setting there element. So that could have kind of like Mad Max. It's sort of like ships, but you're with the cars and things, but they're kind of behaving, you're treating them more like ships. So maybe somewhere in there. Not all that sure. Brian Smith says Skeleton Men, Nautical Curse vibes. I'm not sure. It could just be that's just, hey, I mean, sometimes the inspiration might not register on the surface, right? It's deeper down. So I don't doubt it. But even if it was just Thundar the Barbarian, the game, which is kind of how I took it when I first saw it, and definitely so really feels to me. I mean, that gets a thumbs up for me. Nostalgia, thumbs up. Is kind of a fun setting. Hey, I can't wait to see if I can if Homebrew Detritus does end up doing a playthrough. I can't wait to see what that looks like, and hopefully I'll get a chance to try it. But check in for the next one. I'll pull out the module and we will go through that. Until then, before you leave, if you give a thumbs up, that would be awesome. If you're in here and you're not subscribed, subscribe. Click the bell so you can get notified, please. Sure. Works for me, works for you. Anyhow, other than that, have a great rest of your day, night, whenever you're watching or listening to this. Game on, and I'll talk